Hey everyone, this is the Love of Cinema podcast. We like to talk movies. If you like to talk movies too, you come to the right place.
For me, the biggest joys of life is watching Kurbani and Jabaz and Yalgar. Like, we would do movie sessions and we would watch his films and watching them, him discussing how he shot which scene, or, the whole conception of Premnath's character, the Matka King, and all that stuff. I got to discuss the behind the scenes, his inspirations, the way he shot his songs, the way he kind of, the music. His music was such a massive part.
He has written some of the coolest films of 2000s. He has directed some of the most popular OTT shows. His latest film, Haq, is running successfully in cinemas, and Yami Gautam's performance is being widely praised as her career best. In a prior life, he was a film journalist and a film critic, and he has got terrific stories to tell from those days. Stories about directing Feroz Khan, about interviewing Mukul Anand at his uber-cool Mumbai office in the 90s. This is Himanshu, and you're listening to the Love of Cinema podcast. But before moving on, an important friendly reminder. Love of Cinema podcast is my labor of love. And with every episode, I've attempted to create something that cinephiles will continue to find value, not just today, but over time as well. If you enjoy organic conversations centered on Indian cinema, Love of Cinema podcast was created for people just like you. So if you enjoy the podcast, please do consider supporting the show. Your support will help me continue creating content with shelf life for fans of Indian cinema everywhere. You'll find the link to support the show in the show notes. You can also support the show directly from the podcast website. It's fast, it's easy, and your support is greatly appreciated. Coming back to today's episode, Suparn Varma is here. Suparn and I chopped it up for more than an hour on everything from the 90s to the 2020s, from Feroz Khan and Mukul Anand to Manoj Bajpayee and Sinners, from Chal and Karam to Weapons and F1. He had so many great stories to tell, and I can't wait to share our conversation with you guys. So here goes. Ladies and gentlemen, Suparn Varma. Hey Suparn, how are you doing?
I'm good, Himanshu. You tell me what's up. I'm very excited to be on your podcast.
Hey man, I'm really excited to chat with you. I have a lot of memories attached to it, the films that you have been attached with. So this is going to be a fun chat. So like we decided, we're just going to have a freewheeling chat about cinema today. And, we are going to talk about your movies as well as some of the movies that you grew up with, movies that you admire, some of your current favorites, filmmakers, so all of the good stuff. So let's dive right in. I just wanted to start by, first of all, talking about Haq, which is, out in the cinemas right now. It's doing remarkably well for a small movie. An important true story, a tremendous story, a story that had to be told. Happy with the reception and the overall praise for the movie?
Yeah, it's been very overwhelming, Himanshu. The love, the kind of ovations it's been getting, and I can't wait for it to have its cinematic life and be there for a long time. Sometimes while making a film, you realize something special is happening. And I think we all knew that while, we were making it, that we have something really beautiful and special on hand. We need to protect it and take care of it and nurture it in the best way possible. And yeah, I think now it's over the audiences and the, film lovers and critics, and their, feedback has been really, really, it's I think career best so far, but so I've had my share of brickbats and accolades, but the accolades for Haq have been in a different stratosphere, honestly.
Awesome to hear that, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, Suparn, let's turn the clock back now. Okay, so let's go back to the mid-90s. So we're going back about 30 years.
We can go as far back as you want. I love cinema. I can talk about Kranti to whatever you want, but anyway.
Gee, gee. So, no, I want to start by talking about your Rediff years, when you were a film journalist. So, you were writing on film. So, you were a film journalist before, then you became a film critic, and then, of course, you became a writer director. But let's take us back to the mid 90s when you were a film journalist. And what
Well,
was the
actually,
film
yeah.
journalism and film criticism scene like back then?
So honestly, I became a critic exactly post mid 90s. In 96, Jan 1st is when I officially joined, though I joined on 31st December 1995. But my boss says it was 1st of Jan. So I said, okay, ek din maine free mein काम किया. But funny part is today, I was in Rediff's office. We just celebrated 30 years of Rediff today. When we all kind of put it together. So yeah, 1st of December. But journalism, I mean, I come from a family of journalists. My father was a journalist, my mother is a journalist, my sister Sukanya is a journalist. Of course, she's younger to me. Uh, the fourth estate, when I became a journalist, was a force to reckon with, like the way it was when, my parents were journalists as well. There was a lot of respect. There was a lot of decorum. There was a lot of, uh, you know, professionalism about a lot of things, where it was not just about breaking news, it was about digging in deeper. It was about a lot of research. You didn't print a single word until you had three confirmations.
Right.
There was no hearsay in journalism involved. You did not write things out of, just like, let me kind of, break a news, put this and that. There are follow ups. So if a story was broken today, you would follow up a week later, a month later, a year later, see where it's going. It was not, I mean, today, if something like a mandala happens and someone emulates themselves, there'll be news for maybe 5 days to a week. And after that, the person will be forgotten. But at that point of time, it was still news. It was carried forward. You kind of followed up, you kind of checked in on sources and stuff like that. It was a different world, honestly. When it came to film journalism, there was a clear demarcation. You had, gossip journalism, which Devani Chobal used to run with her meow meow thing in Stardust and stuff like that. But you had hardcore, movie interviews where, journalists would really spend a lot of time doing a lot of research and talking to directors and producers and actors. Yes, there was stardom, but the kind of access that you have today where everybody is on Instagram and Twitter and making a statement, I think somewhere we kind of lost the luster of what stars are by the more access that happens. I think the mystery kind of the whole aura kind of started dying out. Uh, and I think even in today's time, the lesser people have access to an actor, the bigger the star they are. And that I think really helps in a larger sense. Also, at that point of time, it was a different business model, right? An actor was an actor. They weren't really endorsing 10,000 products. They weren't really, doing collabs and posts. Movie promotions were done differently. It was a different world. We are in a different world today. So, I mean, things change, things evolve. Some things happen for the best, some things happen for the worse. But that's the nature of life and change and time. So yeah, if I ever have to do a period piece, I can happily do one from the 80s and 90s and 2010s and 20s. But yeah, it was a different space. Even criticism was very, very different. You had select critics. Khalid Muhammad was revered. You had a select few, and that is it. And people heard them. Today, anybody with a camera is a critic. You can tweet and become a critic. You can put up a YouTube video and become a critic. But again, then there are critics and there are critics, and there are a handful even today that are really, really respected. So that sets things apart in a good way. But that will always exist, right? So it's that. So the world, yeah, that is to give you a sense of the time machine.
Right, right. So, Suparn, like we said, you were a film journalist and a critic first, and then you became a writer, director. Now, in this journey of yours, were there any movies in particular, that inspired you to take the leap of faith and say to yourself, look, okay, these are the movies that are kind of pushing me from writing about movies to actually write movies and go out there and make them?
So I always wanted to be a filmmaker before I even joined Rediff. Before I joined Rediff, I started a production company of mine with a best friend of mine. And we kind of went about writing lots of ideas. AB had just formed that time. And we thought, our superhero, our, hero Amitabh Bachchan has made a company just for us. And we tried pitching ideas then and there. I mean, we were too young. And our ideas, which in hindsight were, I think, more OTT, which never existed at that point of time and not television enough. But yeah, we tried. So I knew what I wanted
Can
to
you
do at
share one of those ideas, if you don't mind?
One was an idea called Uchi Manzile, which was set in a building with different families and different stories intermingling and stuff like that. We wrote about at that time we heard that they're looking at 56 episode seasons. So we wrote 56, no, 102 episodes. We wrote 102 episodes of that. We wrote a 26 episode season of a finite show, which involved time travel and adventures and shit like that, which went back and forth, which was brilliant. I still think it's brilliant. It should be made. Maybe I'll make it one day, but anyway. So yeah, we wrote such ideas, and we tried to kind of shift them around. Unfortunately, it didn't happen, or fortunately, it didn't happen. I think in hindsight, everything is a building block. But I always knew what I wanted to do. Uh, but I think the one film that changed my life technically, because the 80s, I think, were the worst period for Hindi cinema, especially. You had multi-starers happening. You maybe had 2, 3, or 5, 6 good films a year. The rest were, just generic stuff being made to kind of fill screens. I mean, and I would watch everything and anything under the
Right,
sun because
right.
I needed movies for my sustenance. So I made friends with people who had VCR and all that stuff. So I had a very interesting journey in my life just to watch movies in the first place because we didn't have a TV in our house till I was 12. But I think the movie that changed everything for me was coming back from a summer vacation in Delhi. So I was in school in 1990 when Shiva came out. I was giving my 10th standard, I think, exam, and I was returning back from Delhi. And I see, every summer vacation, I would return back to Bombay, and it would be raining. And I'm coming back, and all you had these walls, brick walls plastered with posters. So you would see, posters of Hindi films from trains in Mumbai. And I saw this poster of a cycle chain, and silhouettes of 5 people, and it said Shiva. Then there were posters of Nagarjun standing there, his face with again the cycle chain. And the poster just spoke to me. And I remember watching that film, and that film changed my bloody life. I think I saw that film. I would sell all the raddi in my house, all the newspapers basically, week after week to earn money and get money to watch movie in the stall, in the stalls basically. We had stalls and balconies in those days. And I kept watching Shiva again and again and again and again. Shiva changed my life. Not that it made me want to be a writer or director. I already wanted to be one. But that kind of really became my film school initially. Then I watched Raat. I saw Raat. I was the only person because unfortunately Raat was a flop, which didn't make any sense to me. I thought Raat was a brilliant horror film.
Love
And I
that
saw
film.
Raat
Yeah.
in Samrat. Yeah. And I saw Raat in Samrat Theatre. Samrat Theatre was the biggest theatre in all of Asia. It was a 1,000-seater. I saw that again in a stalls. I was alone the third time I saw it, and I loved. The first time I actually heard Raat. So we used to live in the society, right, which had 8 buildings, and every evening there were tankies, water tankies, but ground level ones where people would collect. So all my kids would kind of congregate, and we would narrate stories. One guy would have seen the film, and he would or she would narrate the film. So the first time any of us would be exposed to any film would be hearing it and their version of it, which would be a lot of it, mirch masala happening,
Right.
defending. Like I have heard the most sexual version of Great Gambler which nobody has heard in their life. Because when I saw Great Gambler, I kept wondering where did the scenes go. But anyway, that was somebody having fun with it. So yeah, I heard about Raat first. I knew the shots, and then I saw Raat again and again and again and again. So for me, Shiva was that film. And even that time when, interviews were carried in magazines and stuff, the video interviews came much later on in life. I knew, Ramu's influences, whether it's a shot from Sadma, where Kamal Hassan is running in the climax and the train has started, he's running to Sridevi and making faces, and he hits a pillar, the lamppost. The same shot was used in Shiva as a homage. But before that, he had these brilliant shadows emerging and everything. There were so many things in Shiva. And the music, oh my God, the background score, even the songs, Jagadi Jagadi, all that stuff were great, but the BGM was outstanding. The way it was shot, the lensing, I mean, the staging was phenomenal. And to use a hero in silence. You had an angry young man, which I grew up on because Amitabh Bachchan was my god. And then to see this man who doesn't speak a word, he just barely speaks. And he doesn't need to speak because he's screaming. Every frame of Shiva screamed at you. And yeah, that kind of, brought about a different fire in me. I was like, my God, what is this? Raat, again, the way he used the steady cam in a Jimmy Jib was brilliant. I mean, I learned a lot about Steadicam watching Brian De Palma films, including split screen editing and stuff like that. I think my entire school of Steadicam is Brian De Palma, one of the most brilliant filmmakers. And he, of course, paid so many homages to Alfred Hitchcock all through his career, whether it was Blowout or whether it was, A Dress to Kill. I mean, Scarface for that matter. I mean, he would bring in shots and stuff like that. I mean, he has made such seminal films. I just love Brian De Palma. I can watch him again and again and again. But yeah, I mean, so that kind of worked. And then later on in my life, to meet Ramu while he was doing the sound mix of Dayam, a horror film that he made. And it had Chakri in it. No, not Chakri. Who was the villain? Who was the villain in Shiva?
Raghuvaran.
Raghuvaran. Raghuvaran was the hero in Dayam. And he was sitting in Leslie Lewis's studio, Purple Haze, doing his mixing. And not a mix, he was doing a Foley mix actually. And I saw a shot and I said, that's Pet Symmetry. And he jumped and he said, how do you know about Pet Symmetry? And I showed him a press card. My press card had Stephen King's photograph on it. Because I'm his number one fan. In fact, I have him tattooed on my arm here. Stephen King's
wow.
Tower. So he jumped and he said, you look like Stephen King. I'm like, yeah, I mean, I had hair in those days. So I kind of did look a little like him. But yeah. And then we started discussing sound design. And we kept talking cinema. And then he said, would like to write a film. Similar thing happened with Hansel, where, he used to read my movie reviews. And Manoj Bajpayee's chat for Dil Pe Mat Le Yaar happened in his house because he had a computer. And Manoj left, and Hansel and I kept discussing cinema and my reviews. And at 1:30 in the night, after a couple of drinks, he said, do you want to write a film for me? So that's how that journey began. So for me, everything has been a series of coincidences, and everything has been seminal in building up to, where my other journey would begin. But yeah, it kind of, I mean, if you want to ask me which film in the 90s changed my life,
Shiva.
I think, but before that, yeah, I've seen everything under the sun. So.
Right. I just did a small episode on Shiva with Ramu last month because it's really re-releasing in 4K.
Yeah, in 4K,
yeah. Okay, so let's since you mentioned Hansel, I when I had Hansel on the podcast, we talked about Chal a lot because it's a movie that I like a lot, and obviously you wrote that film.
I think I'm the only one who has the DVD of Chal.
Yeah.
I have a copy of Chal.
Yeah. There is a very bad copy on YouTube that I had to reference for the podcast because I had seen it back, when it released. So it's been a long time.
I need to find a studio and rip off a copy and at least safeguard it in a different format so at least it lasts, and I need to give it to Hansel also. But yeah, Chal was great. And Chal is very interesting because Chal happened out of accident actually. Hansel was supposed to direct Abhay Deol's debut film for Harry Babeja. And Hansel called me to write that film, which involved two lovers, which ended with, them running off the border of Mexico and shit like that. And I think getting shot, I'm not sure. We wrote quite a few versions of that. Hansel was not happy with it. I was also kind of not happy with it. And I had already written the story document of Chal out. So his associates were sitting one night, breaking their head on the draft that we had done for Abhay's film. And I had left my document of story document with them of Chal. They read it, they loved it, they gave it to him at 1:30 in the night, and he read it. Next morning, he called me up. He had a producer who had 1 crore rupees, who asked him, can you make a film in a crore? And that was the time when suddenly you had, small budget films just coming out as a norm. They were not done so far. And we made Chal in 1 crore rupees. I mean, KK and Prashant Narayan. And KK's Panch was made but had not released. Uh, of course, KK had done Bhopal Express before that, Mahesh Matai's film. But this was his next release after that. And Chal is a film I'm so proud of. In fact, Chal, I wrote a lot of, I think 80% of Chal has night scenes. That way I could attend shooting. So I would be in Rediff by day and at shoot by night. And Hansel, of course, would be sleepless because, it had night scenes and I had hard coded them into the script in a way that they could not be made day. There's a whole logical loop to it. But yeah, I mean, Chal is a film I want to remake or rework and adapt once again in my life at one point of time. I think Chal deserved a lot of love. I would love for Chal to be restored and be
It's
seen
a
by
great
today's audience.
story. It's a great story. And in fact, I think it's very ripe for like a mini series or so.
Yeah. So for me, I love the structure of things coming full circle. That Chal begins with KK being inducted into the force as an undercover cop and sent on a mission by Nabil. And the film ends with him inducting another guy and sending him back. In fact, the original ending of Karam was something similar. Like in Karam that came on screen, John's character dies. But in the original version that I had done, which we debated a lot, I think we had the maximum amount of debates with the ending of Karam. My original ending of Karam is it ended with Priyanka's character getting killed and John, who was a hitman who wanted to leave the underworld and, have a life with her,
Right.
killing everyone, avenging her death, and sitting back as the boss now on the same throne that he wanted to leave. I love the whole loop of circle of life coming back again and again because I believe in
Interesting.
this moniker that the more things change, the more they remain the same. So I like examining life or cinema or stories from that perspective. So actually, that's the original ending of Karam. That John is sitting back on Bharat Dabulkar's throne now as the boss after having killed and avenged, killed everyone and avenged his wife's death. So yeah.
Yeah, Karam is a very interesting film for the times, especially, because I guess it's mid 2000s, right? 2006 or 2005. Karam is,
Yeah,
I think, 2006.
2006.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's inspired by the heroic bloodshed genre, that we see a lot in Chinese movies, Hong Kong movies. But it's a mood, and just not too many films where you'll get to see a cross-dressing Vishwajit Pradhan. So that makes it extra special.
Yeah, before Da Vinci Code, we had another guy hitting himself with a
Suparn, tell me more about the story behind the story of Karam. Like, because this is such an off-kilter movie for 2006.
So
And then
here's
if
the
you could
fun
also
part.
talk about Sanjay F. Gupta for a bit.
Yeah, sure. So basically, Sanjay Gupta was the biggest music director in town at that point of time. Fabulous DOP and the most sought after music video director. And the funny part about Karam is that it goes back to Harry Baweja. So Hansel was signed by Harry, right, to make Awadeo's debut film. I started working on that film. That didn't happen. Chal happened. So that money got readjusted with Harry saying, why didn't you write a young youth comedy for me? And that's how I wrote Ye Kya Ho Raha Hai, which I used all the references of my college days and all the friends I knew and made Ye Kya Ho Raha Hai with Hansel, which we shot in Mauritius. That was marketed as American Pie. It's not actually American Pie ripoff even remotely. And that also kickstarted Gajrao Rao's career. He played Bunty's father in the film, a sexologist, by the way, inspired by the famous sexologist of today. Anyway, and Shankar Ehsaan Loy's really, really amazing music in that film, by the way. And Harry would hear my ideas out.
The
And
soundtrack is dope.
Harry,
Yeah. The soundtrack is dope. I remember. Yeah.
yeah, outstanding soundtrack. And Harry would hear my ideas out, and he offered me Kayamat, which was the adaptation of The Rock in Hindi. And while hearing that, one of the ideas Ajay heard, and he sent me to Rohit Shetty. He was looking for a debut film, and that's how he got Zameen. In the meantime, Kayamat was shot by Sanjay F. Gupta as a DOP. He became a friend of mine. He loved my ideas. John Abraham wanted to work with him. He wanted to do a love story with John. And we went to narrate a love story to John, which I did narrate, but with, half and heart because I was like, I see John, I want to do action, right? And John heard the love story, and in the middle of it, he stopped and looked at Sanjay and said, "Dude, why aren't we doing a kick-ass action film together?" And Sanjay was lost for a second, SFG as we used to call him. And he looked at me and I said, "Hold my beer. I already have the script." And I narrated Karam to him. John said yes on the spot that this is the film. And the only debate we ever had with Karam was the climax, where, we kept wo- thinking who would die. Would it Priyanka die or would John die? So yeah, it ended up with John being killed and not sitting on the throne. So yeah, there are a lot of interesting discussions on Karam. So yeah.
And like, what was the inspiration for that? Like, was that some movie you saw, or a
No,
graphic novel, or
Karam is an absolute. So Karam is an absolute original. Zameen is an absolute original. Chal is an absolute original. Yekawar is an absolute original. Kayamat is not. Uh, what else? Uh, Janashin Khan Saab, Ramu recommended me to Khan Saab. He was already making Janashin. He was right. He had written a couple of drafts. I came on board. I gave my inputs to it and everything, and he adopted me. So I am blessed to have met him. And that happened. That's a different story altogether. That continued. But yeah, that was taken off from Roadhouse, but went in a very different direction. So it was ended up being, a different film altogether. Uh, then when I did Ugly or Pugly, I know I wrote dialogues of Ugly Pugly and additional screenplay, but I know Ugly Pugly was kind of inspired by My Sassy Girl. Then came Ek Khiladi Haseena, which just celebrated 20 years of release. And those days, as everybody needed a reference.
yes? And that
Not
was
just a
quite
story.
common, actually. A lot of kids today don't realize that, because most of the movies were either referenced from, books or
I mean, anything,
movies.
all your beloved films, right from Anand being a remake to Sholay, everything is kind of, referenced from somewhere or the other. Like I had a very amazing discussion with Sachin Bhaumik, and what a brilliant writer. And
Absolutely,
he
one of the
about how
greats.
he would go to film festivals and see films, and how he saw, a film, and he was inspired to do the story of Anand. I mean, Mahesh Bhatt, half his films had references. So I mean, anyway, it was a
Right,
different
right.
era, a different world. So you needed to come with references. So I referenced a whole. I think every corner film that I ever saw, I put in it, right from House of Games to Confidence to The Grifters to I think there were about 12 or 14 references that I had for all of it, including a film with Anthony Quinn. It was a it was an Italian film, in fact, rather. Anyway, so yeah, so I kind of that happened there. So yeah,
Yeah, let's talk more about that film. So this is your debut feature film, Ek Khiladi Ek Haseena. Again, this is around 2006, and this is one of those movies produced by Pritish Nandi that were like a breath of fresh air back then. I remember, even like Ek
released
Khiladi Ek
2005 actually. Yeah,
2005. Acha, okay. And this movie, so in case you haven't watched this movie, is this streaming anywhere, by the way, Suparna? I know
Netflix.
this. It's on Netflix.
Yeah,
Oh, really? Okay, okay. So probably it's on Netflix India, because I was looking for it. I didn't find it on Netflix US.
just get a VPN, you'll get to watch it.
Yeah, yeah. So if you want to watch this movie, this is again a fun movie, a sleek movie, has dope
It's on YouTube
songs.
also, by the way.
Sorry,
It's on YouTube also.
is it a good print though?
I think so.
So, like you said, this is inspired by Confidence, House of Games, both great movies. And this stars the late great Feroz Khan. And the one thing, Supan, that I really like about Ek Khiladi Ek Haseena is how Feroz Khan fanboy in you comes across from the very first scene featuring Khan. Going from a fanboy to collaborating is always something fascinating for me to hear about. When Ramu was on the podcast the first time, a couple of years ago, we spoke a lot about, his journey as a Bachchan fanboy to actually, making some of his, better films from his second half of his career. I would love to hear about your, similar story with Feroz Khan. How that happened, and how do you look at Feroz Khan? And then we will definitely talk about the man and his movies a little bit more.
So he was a man who lived his life to the full. I mean, unapologetically about it. He
King
was
size, yeah.
king size, and what you saw was what you get. If he loved you, he loved you for life. If he didn't like you, run away. an absolute thorough gentleman, self-educated, very well read. He could quote Oscar Wilde to the Quran, to Shakespeare, to Gita, to Bible at the drop of a hat, or poems for that matter. He loved poetry and he loved shares and ghazals, loved music, loved cinema, and a very, very rich guy, whether it was heart, whether it was intellect. I had a great relationship with him. And I remember that, you know, the day he came on set, I had worked with him as a writer. And then he agreed to act in a film as an actor after 18 years with the outside director. He only directed himself for the longest time. He stopped acting outside. Ek Khiladi Haseena is the first time he acted after 18 years with the outside director, which was me. And, he had his clothes made by Dolce Gabbana. And he said, I'll get my own clothes. I won't burden the production. So he got his own clothes made. His costumes were made by himself. And he comes on set. And I knew that he needed to see that I am in control of the set. So I usually don't raise my voice on set at all. And that day I told Fardeen, you're going to hear me. And he's like, what? And I said, I'm going to raise my voice at one of my ADs. I've told him, not told the AD that I'm going to raise my voice at you. And I raised my voice as Khan Saab was entering. And Khan Saab looks at me and then comes and thumps me on the back and says, Bacha, tu to sher nikla. And I was laughing. And I was shooting this on film, like 35 mm. And he was a very precise actor. He called me to the vanity in the morning. Now, as a producer and director, he would come on late on his own set by hour and a half, 2 hours. As an actor, I could measure my watch. I could time my watch literally to his car entering. If his call time was 9, the second, Dundee would actually kind of go on 9 and his car would enter every single day. Eventually, I thought on the day 4, which was the last day, that maybe he's hiding somewhere. But no, his car would enter precisely at his call time on the dot. And every day in the morning, he would call me to the vanity and he would ask me what the scene is. And then he would ask me, how am I shooting it? And he would want to know because he is one of the greatest editors. In fact, in Aprad, he actually cut frames and jump cuts and stuff like that. He kind of spliced frames together. I mean, the kind of technical knowledge that he had and the kind of stuff that he has done was seminal. So he would ask me how I want to cut the shot, how I want to cut the scene. So I would narrate the scene to him, cut to cut to cut that, I'm going to start with the close up. You see this line, then I cut here, cut there, cut there, cut there, cut there. But I had a habit of shooting a master of a couple of different lenses. And he would stop talking wherever I had told him I want to cut. And I would not say cut. Then the first time it happened, he continued a bit. And the middle of it, he looked and turned at me directly into camera. Bacha, cut nahi bolega. So then I started making jokes. Khan Saab, you're acting so well. How can I say cut? I'm enjoying it so much. Ha ha ha. Then it became a game. Sometimes he would give me a few extra lines. Sometimes he would just stop talking when I had said I'm going to cut. But yeah. So it was fun. It was really good fun working with him. And he was very impressed that, it was a nice experience. I miss him.
And what a man. Let's talk about Feroz Khan a little bit more. Like you said, he lived his life king size. He made wild movies. I mean, to think about, what I was just, watching Janbaz, a few.
Janbaz, Yalgar. I mean, there is Kurbani. I mean, the kind of
they're wild movies. Yeah. And the kind of stuff that he did. Like, for example, I just wanted to mention two things. The opening few minutes of Janbaz are like absolutely hypnotizing. It cuts from the, the title sequence, which is in the background of clouds, to a young Dimple riding the horse. And then you see the watch, kind of tells you that time is really flying by. And we see the young Dimple, on the beach, on the rocks. And then there is this fascinating derby scene, where Feroz Khan is actually calling the Bangalore Derby. And, the horse names are even wilder. It's Naughty Prince, Superman, Rambo are some of the names of the horses at the Bangalore Derby. But he did such wild things, like Dimple is styled after Jennifer Jones in a Duel in the Sun, but she looks like a cross between Cher and Barbara Streisand. So it's like crazy. And the lines, oh my God, the wild lines of Jabaz.
In fact, Khan owned a lot of horses. He had his
Yes, yes,
horses.
yes. He had a stud farm. Yeah.
He had a proper stud farm, and he had his own guns. In fact, he would sleep with a gun under his pillow in his Bangalore farmhouse. I've handled it.
Oh yeah.
It was interesting.
But why did he need a gun?
Well, he would be alone in the farmhouse. He had his
Oh, okay. So
staff.
he didn't have any security or staff or anything like
Yeah, he had security and staff, but I'm talking about a massive, like, you're talking about a 50, 60 acre, of farmhouse in
property.
which you
Yeah.
have this massive house, and he's the only person staying in the house. Technically, yes, there is security and there is, the chef and the manager who's going to sleep in his house separately close by. But, and also with Khasa, he's his own security.
Yeah.
Nobody will mess with him. Nobody messes with him. So, yeah.
But how do you look at his cinema? How do you look at his movies?
I learned so much from him. I mean, for me, the biggest joys of life is watching Kurbani and Jabaz and Yalgar. Like, we would do movie sessions and we would watch his
Yeah,
films
yeah.
and watching them, him discussing how he shot which scene, or, the whole conception of Premnath's character, the Matka King, and all that stuff. I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, I got to discuss the behind the scenes, his inspirations, the way he shot his songs, the way he kind of, you know, the music. His music was such a massive part of his films. I mean, his ear for music is insane. The lyrics, the sound. Uh, for me, the edit, the cinematography, the way he used lensing was very, very seminal. The staging of it. And he always gambled it all in his film. He went all in, all chips in.
He took huge risks. Yeah.
Massive risk. I mean, who the hell would take a real Mercedes and bloody bang it up and break it down to, zilch in a film? And you're shooting on film. You're not shooting VFX. It's a real Mercedes happening in real life,
Yeah.
being
Yeah.
battered to bits. I mean, that scene is
I love that scene. I love that scene. And, I was telling Atul Sabharwal, I think, when he was on the podcast, that that scene is essentially, inspired by a scene from The Driver, right? Ryan O'Neill's. But I think this scene is better, much better than the scene from The Driver. So, it's one of those instances, where the what you're inspired from, you're kind of bettering that.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I literally, I told him that as a kid, when I was, I think, like literally a kid, my favorite song was Kurbani, 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 Allah ko pyari hai Singhdani, because I could not understand Kurbani again. So I would change the lyrics and stuff. And he laughed his head off. Like, so yeah.
Okay, so now I wanted to talk about this interview that you did with Mukul Anand, because Mukul Anand is one of my favorite Hindi filmmakers. And first of all, what year are we talking about when you got this opportunity to have a chat with him?
So I was a journalist. He was about to, I think the first time I met him was to discuss Das. He had
Okay,
announced Das.
right.
He announced Das. He had no, actually, no. The first time I met him was when Najib, the president of Afghanistan, one second.
Najibullah, I think, yeah.
Yeah, Najibullah. Basically, Najibullah died. He was killed. So Najibullah had been killed, and I had gone as a journalist to meet him for the first time and ask him his experience of shooting in Afghanistan, because he shot Khuda Gawa there. And we got talking, and he realized that I am interested in filmmaking. And he just took a shining to me. He spoke at length about Khuda. I mean, we spoke about Najibullah for a brief period, which is in the interview that I carried. But then we discussed Khuda Gawa. I discussed, Kanun Kya Karega, and I had seen Cape Fear at that point of
Right.
time. In fact, funny part is this: he remade Cape Fear
Before
before
Scorsese did.
Scorsese.
Yeah.
Because Scorsese came in 91, I think. And he
Yes,
made it in
yes.
84.
Yeah.
And I have seen the black and white version also of Cape Fear.
Right.
So I had discussed both the Cape Fears and his Cape Fear and the lensing and the way he shot it and everything. And, the lenses, blah, blah. We discussed that for the longest time. And for me, not just Kanun Kya Karega, Vinod Khanna's comeback film, Insaf.
Yeah.
A bloody good film. My God.
It's sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
since you mentioned De Palma before, the shots with Suresh Oberoi, when he's sitting at his home, they're so Brian De Palma. I mean, that's like the 80s, LA aesthetic. It's the and he has all created that in Mumbai, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure those were sets; those were not
In fact,
actual
this is
houses.
before Michael Mann did Miami Vice. He did
Yeah.
those shots.
It's amazing. I mean, how people don't talk about Insaf and all these things. It always boggles my mind. But he did
I cannot
such
get over
amazing.
Insaf. I saw Insaf again in a theater, then kept going back and back and back. Firstly, Vinod Khanna. What a good looking man. Like, oh my God. And then Insaf. What a good film. Like, such a good commercial, solid film. The emotions land, everything in Insaf lands. And then he kills off his wife by the end of it. And then he goes an avenging path. I'm like, it's such a very good film. I mean, Satyamev Jayate, which came out after Insaf, it, I think, rode on the high of Insaf. Maybe not as good a film, but Insaf was phenomenal. I loved Insaf.
I love Insaf. Yes, yes.
That was a very interesting time because a little, I think, couple of years down the line, I think Govinda, sorry, I'm jumping tracks, but Govinda made or gave one of his career best performances. It was a remake of Godfather.
Yeah, yeah.
Dharmender, Govinda. This was by Zulm Ki Hukumat, and the director was, interestingly, this guy called, one second, his name also.
Oh, yeah. Zulm Ki Hukumat is by the guy who, Bharat
Bharat
Rangachari?
Rangachari.
Yeah.
Bharat
He
Rangachari.
was the chief AD of Rishida
Yeah.
for the longest time. Yeah,
Zulm Ki Hukumat again. It came out in 92.
you're right.
91, so 1990, Insaf came around that time only, I think.
Around 1990. Yeah.
Vinod Khanna, 87. 87 Insaf came. 91 Zulm Ki Hukumat comes, which again, one of the best remakes of Godfather in Hindi cinema. I mean, the way it was shot with top lighting, white shirts, bouncing back light. And Govinda was so good.
Yeah.
As Mike Corleone in it.
Yeah.
It was very good film. I mean, again,
Yes,
some
yes.
very good films around that time. I mean, there was Angare by Sashilal Nair, which was outstanding.
Oh, I love that film. Yeah.
I mean, in fact, I think Jackie Shroff started peaking. He did Daddy with Mahesh Bhatt, started peaking. Then, of course, came, Priyadarshan's first Hindi film, Gardish, which was outstanding.
Right.
Then comes Angare. I mean, Jackie Shroff just kept peaking and peaking and peaking after that. I mean, Ram Lakhan, everything came. But yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've tracks from here to there. But yeah, I mean, Insaf was again a brilliant film by Mukul Anand. Mahasangram was a very interesting film. At
Yes.
least initially it was. It
Yeah.
fell apart in the second half.
Right.
The way it was danced again.
Yeah.
Was so interesting. And the kind of cast he got on Mahasangram was brilliant.
The thing about Mahasangram is that it's probably one of his weakest films. But again, it's, it has its moments. And I think that was, Aditya Pancholi's breakout film, right? I mean, he really...
Aditya Pancholi's breakout film was not that. Aditya Pancholi's breakout film was a Mahesh Bhatt film, which was a remake of Scarface.
Saathi. Yeah.
Saathi, such a good film. Such a good film. And
but Saathi is after Mahasangram, right?
Was it?
Saathi must be, Saathi is like 90. Saathi came out the same year as Ashiki. And Saathi suffered because Ashiki was still such a big hit in the
Saathi
movie.
is a really good film. In fact, the other film that really worked for Aditya Pancholi was the State of Grace remake by Sanjay Gupta.
Yeah, my favorite film, Atish. Yeah.
Atish.
Yeah.
What a bloody good film.
I love Atish. We did
Terminator, all that stuff.
Absolutely.
In fact, going back to Mukul Anand's Kanun Kya Karega, the entire opening is a montage.
Yes.
And the montage is set to Vangelis.
Yes.
It is the most abused
Man,
Vangelis.
I've been trying to get Sanjay Gupta on the podcast, but it hasn't worked.
I'll send you his number. You should call him.
We recently...
Film fanatic, film lover, outstanding he is.
Yeah. I love his films. And recently we did an episode on 30 Years of Atish. So we talked about all this. And it's interesting, yeah, because the first time that I heard, Conquest of Paradise was in the Atish opening sequence. So I never knew that this was Vangelis till much later. But that's how you discover all these, pieces when you're a young kid. But Suparn, going back to Mukul Anand, let's talk about Kanun Kya Karega. I mean, his debut film, one of Danny's best performances, a remake of Cape Fear, like you said. It's
It's
got
funny. For me,
terrific
it's a
shots.
songless movie.
Yeah,
It's more
exactly.
songless film.
And
And
just a
it's a
title
very
drop, man.
painful adaptation. But it was panned here. But the same films carried great reviews when made in America, which logically doesn't make sense because
Yeah,
Suresh Oberoi did a great job, Danny Danzoppa did a great job, Deepthi Naval did a great job.
the stunning title drop of Kanun Kya Karega. Remember where Danny comes and like chops it off with his axe? uh that, oh my god, I still love it. And that movie, if you think about it now, is like what, almost 40 years old, but you just
Yeah.
play that title drop and that opening sequence and it grabs you.
No, it
And
holds. It holds completely. It's a very sharply cut, sharply made film. I think it's 15 minutes too long. Ideally, for a songless film, it should not be 2 hours, 4 minutes, but doesn't matter. It holds.
yeah, and then Aetbar were, one of the better Hindi Hitchcock remakes. And I think again Aetbar was panned by the critics and it didn't do too well. But what a great remake of a Hitchcock classic. And we talked about Mahasangram, again, like you said, it has its moments. And then Agnipath, which is my favorite Dharma film. Because Agnipath, I mean, what Mukulanand did in Agnipath, what Bachchan and Mukulanand did in Agnipath is just like, oh my God, it's one for the history books.
Kancha China. I love. In fact, I have seen the original dub of Mr. Bachchan in theaters.
Whoa, well, right. The original
I
voice, yeah.
loved it. I don't know why they restored it. I think that worked. I mean, again, it takes balls of steel to take Amitabh Bachchan's voice and then play with it. And honestly, kudos to Mr. Bachchan and Mukulanand both. I mean, they literally went for the art of it. It was so brilliant. I just feel bad for Rohini Athangadi because after Gandhi, she became the mother. She was younger than Mr. Bachchan when she played his mother in Agnipath, but yeah.
Yeah, Agnipath is a terrific film. I have done an episode on Agnipath as well. In case you haven't, heard that, you can listen to that episode as well. And then Hum, where I always say that, Jumma Chumma is essentially the first Indian music video, in many ways, because it essentially achieves what a music video would do, or was doing on MTV or, during
I
those days.
remember I was sitting in a houseful show of Hum in the front row stalls of Samrat Theatre. And when Jumma Chumma came, I mean, I had a shitload of hair in those days. Maybe that saved me. But the amount of coins that came raining down, oh my God. People, I mean, there is something called madness, but the madness to Jumma Chumma in a movie theater, in a stall, had to be seen to be believed. I saw it first day, first show, first day, second show, first day, third show. Fourth show, I was hiding in the toilet, so I saw it for free. So I saw literally Hum 4 times back to back. The only thing I did about Hum was the Thompson and Thompson track, which didn't work for me.
Yeah. But
I mean, it was just random. I mean, and it's so funny, that eventually I met Shiva in real life. Captain, what is his name? Captain Attack!
Captain Attack. Yes.
Captain Attack. So I met Shiva. So yeah, I met his daughter by the way, his daughter Disha is an outstanding writer and filmmaker. She wrote the screenplay of Death in the Gunj for Konkana Sen Gupta.
Okay.
Sorry, Konkana Sen Sharma. I'm going to say the line again. In fact, Shiva's
what's her name again?
Disha is the daughter of Shiva, and Disha Radani, basically. She wrote the screenplay of Death in the Gunj for Konkana Sen Sharma.
Okay.
In fact, also directed episodes along with Basan Bala of Marte Dam Tak, the documentary.
Okay. And Mukul Anand's last film, which again gets panned a lot, is Trimurti. But I love some of the scenes there, especially the interval block. Where the Sikandar's entry scene. Oh my God! I mean, that scene. Where Anil Kapoor comes and we don't see his face, and he's wearing this hat, and it's like a absolutely like a man out of a western, and he's walking, and what an interval block that is.
In fact, and I think honest answer, uh, I think Trimurti suffered because we know why it suffered, because I don't think he had a completely free hand.
Right, right, right. Yeah,
So
yeah.
for a
I
fact,
think it's pretty apparent when you see the film, right?
uh, I mean, I it's rare when a director is a producer, and gets an outside director, especially in those days. But I guess it was what it was. But yeah, I mean, Trimurti, the way it started out was very different. The way it ended was very, very different.
And tell me more about your meeting with Mukul Anand. So, what did you guys talk about, and what was your impression like?
So I first time I met him, he had set up his office. So Raj Kaushal, the director, was there as his AD. There were lots of people who came out of his office, basically, who went on to be filmmakers. And he had made this beautiful setup. Like the lighting was done dark. These were early days of CPU desktops and stuff, but the monitors were literally sunken in the table with a glass on top, so that people could work in a way without being hunched up or looking up and straining their necks. The lighting was done in a way that, I mean, he had created a beautiful setup. We discussed. In fact, Avid had just recently come out in those days. So one of my earliest meetings was with an interview with Santosh Shivan. Because of him, I met Kanika, Mayor Bharat Bala's wife, and she was the first one to use Avid in the country, and she had cut Hello, मेरे पीछे Buffalo. What is the film called? Hello, right? No,
Hello, yeah, yeah.
Hello. So yeah, and he was editing on Avid that time, so he was discussing profusely, and I had just seen that, so I knew exactly what he was talking about. So he loved discussing films. Was discussing his sound, his cuts, and he was discussing his films, and the fact that he has been shooting around with six walkie talkies around his belt, and he had a massively in those days the mobile phones had just come out, the really big fat mobile phones that had come. So he had two of those mobile phones along with for all that stuff. So yeah, I mean, you could see the stress on it, but he loved all the gadgets. He was playing with all the gadgets, all the toys, and having a blast with it. And he could recognize talent for what it was. There were a lot of people that came out from Mukul Anand's team. And honestly, had he been alive, I think he would have gone on to make some seminal cinema and change a lot of things.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. And there is a great clip of Mukul Anand talking. I think it was in the Bachchan documentary as well. Where they're just sitting and having lunch at a shoot or something. And they're talking about Mukul Anand is saying that I want to project the angry young man in a new avatar. He was talking about how he wants to do something different from the late 70s and early 80s. And now looking back in retrospect, we know that he was talking about Agnipath. So it's a great clip to look at, to watch. Now after all these years, how he was thinking, and how he was always ahead of his time.
Absolutely. I mean, in fact, I think I've seen stills of Kudagawa. Also, I remember that when Mr. Bachchan had flown to Afghanistan to shoot Kudagawa, uh, there were plane loads of all his personal stuff because they had gone there for months to shoot, right? It was not like a 5-day schedule. His pool table was flown down, etc., etc. So it was interesting to hear all that. I don't remember details, but yeah, it was quite a thing.
Any other interesting interviews or anything that you did from back in the day?
I think Ramu was very interesting. I had a great session with Gulzar Saab,
What
picking
was
up
that like?
magical. Honestly, I can't. There are some things that words can't define, or you can't, give experiences. You need to experience it. Gulzar Saab is magic. Period. Only one word defines it. It's magic. I mean, there are lots of adjectives that you can ascribe to that genius of a man.
Yeah, yeah.
The most beautiful, remarkable human beings on the planet. But that evening was magic. In fact, one of the most interesting evenings was when I spent time with Javed Akhtar Saab, picking up for a chat, a rediff chat, which I used to run. And I was coming from a film space and I realized all he wanted to discuss was world politics. And then, of course, I segued and he really enjoyed that. He was always a man who loves discussing world affairs rather than just cinema because his art comes from world affairs.
Right, right, right. Yeah, yeah. Current affairs. Yes. Suparn, I wanted to talk about Manoj Bajpayee a bit. I loved Sirf Ek Banda Kafi Hai. And after watching the film, I wrote a tweet saying that, at this point, Manoj Bajpayee is functioning on a level of a maestro, like a classical vocalist who can paint the same rag with different colors and strokes at will and with an uncanny ease. Everybody knows he's a great actor, but what is it about Manoj Bajpayee that, really makes him, one of our modern greats?
So Manoj Bajpayee is not a maestro anymore. I think he's operating in God mode. But I don't think it's easy. That easy is 50 years of hard work. And that hard work is on every single day. Every single day. Before the shoot even begins, he will start applying himself. He will start thinking about scenes. You'll start getting voice notes or doing personal face-to-face meetings with him where he'll go over his scene again and again and again and again and again. I have video recordings of him rehearsing and discussing and evolving his climax speech of Banda 4 months before he even shot it. Again and again and again. Sun, you listen. Sun, you listen. Maybe one time he'll add a line or a word or remove something, add something. Then you would call the writer, maybe here I need something or give me something or here I have created something. Because he's also one of the best dialogue writers in the world, right? He would keep evolving every day, every day, every day, every day. He could be shooting something in his break time. He's also preparing ahead. He is constantly working at his craft. There is no downtime. He is observing. Sometimes he could be observing someone and just maybe for a mannerism that he's going to use somewhere in his head, it's gone in some, uh, uh, like Sherlock Holmes had that, space in his head, that magical palace. It's gone there, the memory palace. But yeah, I mean, Manoj Bajpayee is operating at a very different level because he's been honing his craft constantly. He's hungry, he's greedy, he's voracious in his appetite to better himself. He's not competing with anybody, he's competing with himself and fighting with himself constantly to be the best version of himself. And it's a very healthy competition. And he is relentless, which is a great thing because when you work with him, if you are driven in a way that he is, everybody else gets that driven to achieve their best. And I think that really helped.
That energy is infectious, yeah.
From a good space. He left 1,000 ideas. And also, when he works in a scene, right? When you're on set, we're working a scene and the other actors involved, he's always working the scene, which at times might mean him saying that, listen, I should not say this dialogue. Sharif should say the dialogue or, someone else, Vipin should say the dialogue or whatever. He'll give away things so that the scene works. It's not about him being the hero of the moment. He's seeing it from a macro level. The scene has to work. The moment has to work. How do you make the moment work? And when that approach happens, and I've seen this in all good or great actors, they're always trying to make the scene work. I've seen, so yeah.
Super. And finally, I wanted to talk about some recent films that you admired. These can be any language films. They don't need to be Indian films. But what are some of the recent films in the maybe last 2-3 years that you saw and, maybe some of them blew your minds. Maybe some of them, you thought, that's a great movie. So what are some of those films?
I love Manjumal Boys. I think Manjumal Boys was phenomenally good. And
Okay.
I saw Guna because of that to get the references and everything. I thought it was magical. It was really, really, really magical stuff. Uh, I saw Kantha recently, which I really liked, by the way.
I loved it. Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
I loved Virudalai. I've not seen part one, but I've seen seen part two. I've seen part one, which I loved. In fact, I saw it on the red table with Vetrimaran showed me,
Oh, nice.
and I was it was something phenomenal. I love what Paranjit is making. I think it's phenomenal stuff. I love Mari Selvaraj films. They are amazing. I love, uh, Rajiv Ravi is making some interesting stuff. G. Prakash is doing some interesting stuff.
Outside India.
I recently saw Weapons, which I really loved.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about Weapons. Yeah. What did you
I
think about it?
really loved. I loved Weapons. I thought it was very interestingly, very nicely done. Uh, I can't help but appreciate Vash even more now because I had seen Vash earlier because Vash has come
Right.
out earlier. Weapons has come out later,
Yes.
and the Gujarati, film Vash is such a phenomenally made good film with that ending that bloody haunts you in the best way possible. And
Yes.
Weapons actually deals with the same thing.
Right.
It's same. The
It's
concept
similar
is
in
the same.
themes. Yes. Yes.
And the theme is the same.
Yeah.
And again, I really, really thought Weapons was such a wicked ass film. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed. I thought I was very, very
I
happy.
thought
And then
Weapons is one of those stories, that's it's the most Stephen King story that he never wrote. So
I researched the life out of me thinking maybe, there is some hint to it. There is,
absolutely.
but yeah, it is literally done like his doppelganger made Weapons.
Right,
It is
right,
a
right.
really done
It's
film.
you can tell that it's made by somebody who grew up on Stephen King, and they know they are a big fanboy, and they wanted to make something, but it's really nicely done. So it's. And what did you think about Sinners?
I have seen Sinners in LA in 70 last show. It was a 10:30 show. No, 11 o'clock show in one of the biggest theater 70 screens there. So I saw it in 70 print. And I really think Sinners will be made into a Broadway show soon because it's a musical as well. I in the middle of the film when the song starts playing, when that sequence happens, I stood up and clapped, and I could not stop myself, and people just stood up and clapped as well
It's
because
an overwhelming sequence. Yeah.
no, I thought Sinners was such an it, it takes the mold, it cracks it, it bends it, it plays with it, and it comes with something so good. And then just when you think it's over, it's like wait for it, it's still not done, and then the end comes, and it just becomes something more. It's so beautiful, and in a way, uh, uh you know I was trying to find an end for Huck, the last moment, like the coda before the shot where I cut to the girl with the kite running up and learning and she's saying Ikra. But before that, for my fade to black, I needed to find a moment after the courtroom case, after the Supreme Court verdict. How does it end for me there? And then I realized I want to weave in a rose, which you would give her in the beginning, because Reshu had created the rose garden after she gets married. So then we set the rose in the beginning of the film where he gives her a rose. And the last shot is as she's leaving, he takes out the rose and keeps it out of his pocket on, and everybody has asked me the meaning of that shot. And I've asked them their meaning. And they all have come up with the most beautiful meaning, which is very personal to everyone. And I've heard different meanings, which are very, very interesting. I've never told my meaning to anybody, neither do I plan to. But for me, the ending of Sinners just elevated the film even more. And I was like, I need to do that. So I kind of was inspired to push myself further to find the more in Haq there from that ending of Sinners. I love Sinners. I think it was so beautifully done. The technique of it was all brilliant. I mean, the smallest of moments, the character, the Chinese family, of how they introduced in the film and then they of course die towards the end. It's a different story, but it, I really enjoyed Sinners. It was fabulous. I think Sinners is just beautiful. It is just my kind of film, man. I
It
love
is. It is.
Sinners.
It's a hypnotic film. The way I look at it, it like just holds you in a transfix. That, and like you said, it's probably one of the best musicals in a while. So I loved Sinners too. It's probably my favorite film of this year. And how about F1? Did you like F1?
I loved F1. I loved F1. In fact, I keep hearing the theme song of by Doja Cat again and again in a loop. But I loved the best part about F1 is it's good old school Hollywood filmmaking.
Exactly. Exactly.
Bro, it has all the beats in place.
Yeah,
There is
yeah.
not one surprising beat, but it is so well executed. It
Yes.
is the kind of cinema that were being made by Tony
Jerry
Simpson.
Bruckheimer and Michael Bay kind of thing.
Primer.
Yeah, yeah,
It's that kind of cinema that
absolutely.
feel good, all American hero, down on the dumps, everybody's lost hope. That one
Yes.
last ride.
I think that's the thing about
Everybody.
Kosinski. I think he creates that kind of those films. Even Top Gun Maverick, that had a similar kind of a reaction that I had, because these are the kind of movies that used to be made by, like Tony Scott and Michael Bay or Dominic Sena, those kind of people. So I had a similar reaction. And closer to home, how did you find Sayara, Chava? What did you think about those films?
I saw Sayara. Chava I haven't seen because I was busy writing and shooting Haq. Chava is on my list. I really enjoyed Sayara. Sayara again is old school, Bollywood, which has been missing for the longest time.
Yeah.
We have not been making these kind of films for a while now. And I think it all started changing first with us trying to make films for the NRI audience. Then
Yeah, yeah.
Wanting to appease critics
Yeah.
and making slightly more off-kilter non-Bollywood films. Then realizing we are here, not there. By that time, our compatriots in Telugu cinema had kind of started taking the best of Hindi cinema and evolving it to even higher art, where it's playing to the audience and the gallery in the best way possible. So we started making cinema from the south. And with COVID, because of Goldmine, everything was dubbed. You didn't have a reason to watch a Hindi film anymore when it's already a remake of a film they've seen dubbed in Hindi. And some films suffered because of that. Now, finally, Hindi cinema, after stumbling, falling, has slowly started rediscovering and going back either to its roots or rediscovering and finding a new language. And it's a matter of time. That is the process of the churn. So it's not about, this is over, that is over. Nothing gets over, it evolves. And Hindi cinema is now evolving in the best way possible. And I think it's a good time. I think it's a fantastic time. Telugu cinema is evolving. I mean, Malayalam cinema, Tamil cinema are anyway, in a different league altogether. They have been for a very long time. But yeah, I mean, I love the fact that Gujarati cinema is coming into its own now. Rising up and rising up. Bengali cinema has been making less cinema, but again, it's interesting and meaningful. I think I'm waiting for, 100 crore film to the end of the day. Economics matters from Bengali cinema very, very soon. So I see actually Indian cinema being redefined. So far, we've been fighting within ourselves, saying that, Bollywood is Hindi cinema and Telugu and Kannada and Malayalam, and Tamil and Gujarati and Bengali and Odisha. I think it's high time we as a nation got together, as filmmakers got together and said, this is Indian cinema. There is no cinema like Indian cinema in the world, which is so varied and so rich because of all the languages and cultures that we have together. There is no country like ours in the first place. We're the only of its kind. Our cinema is the only of its kind. And honestly, if we went in to the world as one, not as Hindi cinema, not as Telugu cinema or Kannada cinema or Malayalam or Tamil, but as Indian cinema, I mean, we would beat the pants off everybody.
Great point. Yeah.
Because Korean cinema is one language. Hollywood cinema is one English. French or European, they have all one language. We are talking about so many languages and our cinema as one. It's not one voice. It is the voice of India. And India has multiple voices. We need to unify that. The day we do that, our business, our language, our audiences will just bloody change.
And do you think the whole paradigm of stardom is changing really fast?
I think it changed a long time ago. It has changed a long time ago, but that social media brought about, number one. Number two.
See, I don't want to say that are we on the cusp of the end of stardom as we know
No,
it.
there is no such thing as end or
Yeah,
beginning.
exactly. So
I think it's evolution. It's
exactly, it's
evolving. It's
transitory.
ever
It evolves
evolving.
into something
It is
new.
different. It's going to be different from what it was. You know, it's going to be different what it was. I mean, today also you have superstars. Eh, We'll always need heroes. Every culture will always need heroes. I think now it's a matter of smartly packaging our heroes, because end of the day, heroes are created to monetize in this industry, and we will have to learn how to smartly package them, how to smartly protect them, how to smartly portray them so that they can be monetized better. And it is a business, so I'm literally going to talk about monetization because that's how it works.
Absolutely, yeah, that's the bottom line. Yeah. Finally, Suparn, we're going to play a round of a game I call Shoot. This is a rapid fire round where I'm going
Okay.
to ask you questions and you're going to shoot back answers.
Okay.
Be completely honest. There is no like gossip or anything like this on this round. It's all about cinema and books and stuff. But be completely honest in your responses, please. Ready?
Ready. Shoot me.
If you could go back in time and interview only one of the two, who would you choose between Prakash Mehra and Manmohan Desai?
Manmohan Desai.
I know you're a big Stephen King fan, so a couple of questions about King. Who would you cast as Pennywise
In a Hindi film.
in a Hindi film? Yes.
Manoj Bajpayee.
Who would you cast as Annie from Misery?
Annie Wilkes. Annie Wilkes would be Yami Gautam.
Pulp Fiction or Jackie Brown?
Pulp Fiction.
Reservoir Dogs or Violent Cop?
Violent Cop. I love Takeshi Kitano so much.
A 90s Hollywood movie you would love to reimagine in Hindi?
Give me some names.
Okay, sure. I can give you
Lethal
names.
Weapon, actually.
Okay.
Tequila Sunrise. Or that is 80s, I think, right?
Tequila Sunrise is 80s. Yeah, great movie. Great movie.
So Lethal Weapon, yeah.
Okay. I thought you would say something like Gone in 60 Seconds or I I thought you might be a fan of that those kind of
Oh, I
movies.
loved 1 in 60 Seconds so much. I love that film so much. So much.
But Lethal Weapon. Okay, let's go with that. Biggest hit of the year or Khan acclaim?
Biggest hit of the year.
One deceased Hindi actor you would have loved to work with.
Again, or just work with?
Just work with. Or again, if you have, like worked
Irfan
in
Khan.
past. Sorry?
Irfan Khan.
One deceased director you would have loved to assist.
Alfred Hitchcock.
Goodfellas or After Hours?
Goodfellas.
Most underrated present day actress.
Present day actress. After Haq, it won't be Yami Gautam, but before Haq, it was Yami Gautam.
Okay. An opportunity to direct SRK or an opportunity to work on Nolan's next as chief AD?
Direct SRK.
Save the Cat or screenplay?
Screenplay.
Animal or Joker?
Joker.
A big paycheck to make a film with a star kid or a smaller paycheck to make a script of your choice with an unknown face?
Script of my choice.
Smaller paycheck.
Yeah.
One pro tip for young screenwriters.
Right. I have had writers come to me and ask me, I want to write. And I'm like, who's holding your hand?
What do you mean?
I mean, just write and keep damn writing until, you get better at it and learn to pitch.
Right.
Sometimes
Practice what
just
you want
have
to
a
do.
minute to pitch, learn to write something that can be condensed into 2 pages and then have a full script ready at the same time and have lots of stuff, lots of ideas, because one day that door will open for you this much. Make sure you're ready, honestly. You can't be waiting. There is no waiting time. No, life will not give you waiting time. You have to be ready for it.
Okay.
So write and write and write away and write again and learn to pitch.
And then a follow-up question to your earlier response. So if you had a chance to direct SRK, what genre would you like to work in?
A romantic film. He's not done romance for ages now.
Okay. One pro tip for young directors.
Pick up your mobile phone, start making films, man. Get like-minded people and start shooting. It'll just help you get better. Because honestly, there is no such thing as you are ready. You'll never know when you're ready. If you are confident that you can do it, then just put it on the line and go for it. Get a script. Learn to write ideally. Even if you're not a writer yourself, learn to write. Learn to edit. It'll help.
Great. I think that's a good note to end our little chat on. But this was a lot of fun, Suparn. Thanks a lot.
Thank you much.
If you liked the episode, do spread the word on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to your pods. Also, please do drop us a review when you get a chance. You can follow me on Twitter and Insta at loveofcinemasf8. You can reach me by email with your suggestions and comments, and you will find the email ID in the show notes. That's the episode. This is Himanshu, signing off, and like always, thank you for listening to the Love of Cinema podcast.